Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be my August favorites ranked. I'm super excited for this month's favorite videos because so many amazing things came out this month. So I have some really amazing favorites here. Products that I know will end up in like my yearly favorites at the end of the year because I am confident that they are that good and that I will get a lot of use out of them. If you guys like the video, don't forget before you leave to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're new to my channel, my name is Patty and I would love it if you were here to stay, so please subscribe before you leave. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Last month I did a favorites video, but I didn't rank them because it was like a random assortment of products and I really couldn't tell which one I like more. But this month I am ranking them. Obviously it's not from worst to best because these are all my favorite products that I found and fell in love with this month. So I'm ranking them from amazing to I can't live without it. Anyways, at number 11 I have some skincare that I fell in love with this month, and that is the Kopari Scrub and Moisturizer Duo. This was very kindly sent to me by Kopari and it was definitely sent to me either in June or July, but I didn't get to use it until this month and I fell in love with both things. Now for some reason I don't like to use them together, but I do love them separately and I'll explain why. Let me start by the enzyme scrub. This is a 2-in-1 product because you have a physical exfoliator in it, meaning it has little tiny beads. They're super small, so they're not very abrasive on your skin. Keep in mind I have extremely sensitive skin, so whenever I'm going to use a new scrub or exfoliating product, I'm always very careful because my face turns red and burns so fast. So this is going to be good for sensitive skin. As I was saying, it is a 2-in-1 because the enzymes are going to eat away at the dead skin on your face, and then it also has a physical exfoliator which is going to lift that dead skin. So this gives you really amazing exfoliation. I've been using it once or twice a week. I'm pretty sure I could use it up to 3 times a week, but I feel comfortable with once or twice a week. And whenever I finish exfoliating my face with this one, even before I moisturize, just rinsing it off, my face feels exfoliated, it feels a lot softer, and it leaves a really good amount of hydration behind, so it's very soft. So I have been absolutely loving this one. Now, the first time I used it, I did put the Kopari Peptide Glow Hydrating Moisturizers right over it, and I don't know what it is about me with my super sensitive skin combining them both, but my face was fine, and then when I put the moisturizer over top, it turned a little bit pink. I wouldn't say red, it didn't burn or anything, but it did turn my face a little bit pink. So I haven't used them together since, because whenever I do use the scrub and I put something else on top of it like Magic Cream or my JLo nighttime moisturizer, those two after using this one don't make my face red at all. Now I have been also using the Peptide Hydrating Moisturizer, again just not right after I exfoliate. So this one I've been using kind of when I wash my face in the middle of the day. So if I'm ever going to do my makeup, I like to use Magic Cream as a moisturizer because it also helps prime for makeup. But let's say that I finish filming at like noon or like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I don't want to wear my makeup for the rest of the day. I go to my bathroom, I wash it all off, but then instead of doing my nighttime routine, which is what I usually have in my bathroom, I've been putting this moisturizer for the rest of the day until it's nighttime, because I don't want to wear my JLo night cream at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is what I've been using in those occasions after I wash my face, and I have been really enjoying it. And whenever I use it not after exfoliating, it does not give me any redness or irritation at all whatsoever. As you can see, I have dug a hole in it already, and it is such a nice, rich, creamy moisturizer. Probably wouldn't do it if you have oily or combination skin, but if you have normal or dry skin, highly recommend it. And I love that it's pretty affordable, and it has peptides and hyaluronic acid, which are going to help to plump up and deeply hydrate your face. So highly recommended. I love the scrub as well, and I've been really enjoying those Kopari products during the month of August. Now let's move on to item number 10, which is this right here. This is my e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. I have been really enjoying this bronzer this month. I've used this in countless occasions and I like it for 2 things. If I'm having a very natural makeup day. I use it on its own to kind of bronze up and give my face a little bit of definition, and I love that it's never too dark. I have mine in the color Tan Lines, and I really love this color for me. It's nice and neutral. I can build it up to give me some color, but this is very user-friendly because it's not too pigmented right away, so you can really build and blend as you go, which makes it very easy to use. Plus it's only $6, which is unbeatable. And I also love to use it underneath bronzer. So I put this as a base contour defining product, and then I put a little bit of powder bronzer over it. That's the way I have it today, and I really like it because I don't have to use as much bronzer afterwards, and my face is already defined by the cream product. Plus it lays beautifully on the skin, very thin and undetectable. And again, only $6. So really highly recommend it as well. Coming in at number 9 is the Xenon palette from Natasha Denona. I ended up really enjoying this little palette this month. If you are looking for a bomb silver, this silver right here is where it's at. It is absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. A little bit of that silver goes a very long way. It is very attention catching. Besides that, I really did love both of the mattes on either side of it. The light gray and the dark gray matte that come in this palette. Very blendable, very buildable, extremely easy to use. And if you check out the video where I reviewed this palette, I created 2 looks with it, and I really loved both of the looks so much. This palette is in my favorites because this is a color story that I personally never ever considered for myself. I never saw me as a silver gray type of person, and when I tried this palette, it changed my mind about it. I really love the way that this palette makes my eyes look, so therefore this palette is landing the number 9 spot for the month. I don't love the black shade that the palette came with. It's kind of like a dry black, and I've seen much better, much creamier from Natasha Denona. Whenever I used it on top of the rest of the shades in the palette though, it did what it was supposed to do. It darkened up the look and blended out nicely, but it swatches like absolute trash. However, it did work on top of the rest of the colors, and I have plenty of blacks in my collection regardless. Anyways, let's move on to number 8. I have not 1 but 2 products in the number 8 spot for this month, and these are 2 of the Wild Obsession palettes. I have the Wild Chameleon and Wild Python palette in spot number 8. Absolutely loved playing with these palettes this month. I know I still owe you guys a 3 looks 1 palette with Chameleon, but honestly the 3 looks 1 palette that I did with Python really underperformed, so I got a little bit disappointed afterwards. I still think I'm planning to do a 3 looks with this one at some point if you still want to see it. But anywho, the reason that these are together at number 8 is because I've decided I like them both the same. When I did the review video, this one was in 2nd place and this one was in 3rd place for me, but I absolutely loved the looks that I was able to create with this palette, and I love that it's a lot more versatile than the rest of the palettes in the Wild collection, so now I like them the same. And these palettes, by the way, have a really good formula for Obsessions palettes. Huda's Obsessions palettes have had a history of being very hit or miss, and this collection right here is the best collection since the Nude Obsessions, which I think is a definite hit, right? So if you've been thinking about it, know that these have a really amazing formula, so you won't have any trouble in that respect. By the way, as usual, everything that I'm talking about in this video is linked down in the description box, so if you are going to try any of these products, please shop my links down there. So let's move on to number 7. And at number 7, we actually have a mascara, the mascara that I'm wearing right now, and that is the e.l.f. Big Mood Mascara. I have to admit, this mascara was not love at first sight for me. When I first tried this mascara, it felt a little bit clumpier than I would like, but you know how some mascaras get better because they're a little bit more liquidy at first and then they get good. So I guess during the month of August, this mascara got good. I had to use it for an e.l.f. video that I uploaded around the middle of the month, and I haven't stopped using it since lines. I really like it now. I feel like at first the formula was a little bit too wet and it was making the tips of my lashes clump a little bit, but now that it's been a while, I actually get a lot more separation when I run my brush through my lashes, and it's giving me a lash look that I really like. Plus it gives me a ton of volume and a ton of length, as you can see. So what is not to love about it? Plus it is an e.l.f. mascara, which means it is extremely affordable. So definitely highly recommended if you guys haven't gotten yours already. Product number 6 is actually a concealer. This is the new Lancome Tint Idol concealer. I really wish I had it in a different color because I love it in this color, but I know that I would love it so much more if it was just a teeny tiny bit darker. But anyways, even in this lighter color, I can blend it into the rest of my skin and it looks really amazing. Now, my favorite thing about this one is, of course, the formula. I find that whenever I wear this concealer, I barely have to set it with any powder at all. Whenever I do put a teeny tiny bit of powder over it, it's like barely dipping my brush in the powder and very quickly dusting it, because this concealer is pretty thin, really full coverage, and it's kind of self-setting. It sets to a matte kind of a finish, so it doesn't move much, honestly, and so I really prefer it with less powder or no powder rather than powdering it the way that I usually do. Now keep in mind, I have dry skin, so I'm pretty certain that if you have normal combination or oily skin, you're absolutely going to love this concealer because it is a bit more on that matte side. However, even with my dry skin, I can truly appreciate it for what it is, and I really love that it gives me full coverage right away and that it's very thin underneath my eyes. It's not a thick creamy concealer, so being very thin helps me to not have to set it and not be worried about it creasing. Therefore, I highly recommend it. I've been using it the whole month and really enjoying it, and I think you guys would like it too. Okay, so let's get into the top 5 for the month of August, and they are all palettes. They are indeed all palettes. I tried a lot of palettes this month. A lot of palettes came out, so I'm sure that's not a surprise. Anyways, the first palette I want to talk about is actually a face palette, and that is the Nude Gasm palette from Miss Charlotte Tilbury. I have it on right now. I have the highlighter and both bronzers on top of my e.l.f. bronzer, so I have 3 bronzers on. Anyways, I don't see myself getting much use out of this shade right here. It does work for me as a blush, so if I'm ever traveling and I want to pack light, I could definitely use it as a blush, but it's not my favorite blush because it's a bit too glowy for my personal taste. Regardless, the other 3 shades that the palette has, I absolutely love. And if your complexion is similar to mine, you are really going to take advantage of both of these bronzers. I like to layer them, and I feel like whenever I layer them, they look spectacular. I start with the light one and do like a nice wash of bronzer on my bronzer area, and then with the same brush I grab a little bit of the darker bronzer and I intensify certain areas, and it gives me more of a sculpted look. It really makes it look like more shady, like it gives me more shade on my face, which makes it look more sculpted. I don't know. I really love layering them though. I feel like it gives my face extra definition and I really enjoy that. And then this highlighter here is absolutely beautiful. I love to put it right here on my cheeks, and I don't feel like it enhances the texture on my cheeks more. I like this highlighter formula from Charlotte more than I like the formula in her big highlighter from holiday last year. This one right here, I don't love this highlighter. This highlighter does give my skin a bit more texture. It feels a little bit thicker on my skin, and maybe that's why it looks more obvious and it makes my skin look a little bit more textured. But the formula of highlighter that comes in this quad, it's different, it's thinner, highly reflective still, and so I like this highlighter from Charlotte a lot better. I mean, this one isn't terrible, but it's not my favorite Charlotte product. I just don't love this formula of highlighter as much. I think product number 4 is really going to surprise you guys, and it is an eyeshadow palette, like I said before, and it is an eyeshadow palette from e.l.f. This is the e.l.f. Electric Mood X Tiana Major palette right here. I tried this one in my e.l.f. video as well, and the quality of these eyeshadows does not feel like e.l.f. quality, or at least not the e.l.f. quality that I remember from years past. These eyeshadows are super creamy, super blendable, and very, very pigmented. And the palette, keep in mind, is only $16. I love the color story of this palette. I love that you have your neutrals, your cool tones, your warms, and you have even some very purple shades in it. It has really beautiful wearable shimmers, and it also has a few pops of colors, a couple of purples, a couple of blues, this more berry tone right over here. I think that this palette's color story is absolutely incredible. Hopefully it's still available because I know that this was a limited edition palette. You guys will not regret spending $16 on this, I'm telling you. It is bomb. I was so surprised by the shimmers in this palette. This one here, fully fell in love with it. You guys can see it's a dual chrome shade. It has like a reddish pinky shimmer in it and also a really beautiful gold. This shimmer shines like crazy, and it's not the only one. Like, a lot of the shimmers in this palette are quite incredible. Just take a look right here. You guys can see how beautiful they shine. I didn't swatch any blues, did I? Let's swatch a blue. Look at that frosty blue shade right there. Anyways, love the way that these swatch, love the way that these apply on the eyes. I definitely think that the shimmers are the most exciting thing about this palette, but the mattes are not bad at all. I will say, if you're comparing it to like a high-end luxury eyeshadow brand, you will have to like build them up a little bit more than you would with like Natasha Denona, for instance. But for $16, amazing quality. You just have to like dip your brush back in the matte a couple more times and you'll get the look that you desire. And the shimmers have great quality. So to sum it all up, I have had a ton of fun playing with this palette, and I think if you guys are looking for a nice affordable palette to add to your collection, look no further, you know? This is where it's at right here. Okay, product number 3, also an eyeshadow palette from Miss Mother Pat McGrath, and that is Mothership number 3 right here. I'm actually wearing a few colors from this palette on my eyes today, and I combined it with a different palette as well. This is obviously a much older palette, but it is new to me in my collection because I just got it this month. I did a 5 looks, 1 palette with it that I enjoyed creating so much. I think I'm wearing 2 of my favorite shades from this palette today. One of them is this beautiful blue that I have all over my eyelid. I used to say I didn't like to wear blue eyeshadow, and then I tried Pat McGrath's shimmery blue eyeshadows. I think I have 3 blue eyeshadows total in my collection from Pat McGrath. All of them are shimmery. They come in different palettes, and every time I wear them I love the look, and all I can think of is how I used to say I didn't like wearing blue eyeshadow. It's this one right over here, and as I picked up the palette I noticed that it has a purple dual chrome in it, so I think that might have to do with why I like her blues so much. They are combined with other colors. Regardless, I love wearing that blue on my eyeballs. Another color that really stood out to me from this palette is this boring old brown shade right here. I'm also wearing it on the outer corner of my eye today, and I really love it because it's got a nice undertone. It's a pretty neutral brown, but I do think it has a little bit of a rose thrown in there, and it just looks so wearable and beautiful combined with so many of the other colors from this palette. Something else I love about this palette is how versatile it is because it has a bunch of different tones of shimmers. So if you use the mattes that the palette has and just use a different shimmer on your eyelid every time, you have like 5 to 6 different eye looks with this palette that you can very easily come up with yourself. Just use your matte brown. If you want to, darken it up with a little black, and then pick a shimmer, put it on your eyelid, and you are good to go, you know? Very easy to use palette, and I love that it has a lot of versatility and diversity. I'll shut up in a second about it, but the shimmer matte black from this palette is also stunning and very special. I think it took me a very long time to buy that palette because I was a little bit thrown off by the color of the box. I keep my boxes. I love my Pat McGrath boxes, and that box was like a little bit too loud for me. But now that I own the palette and I have experienced how versatile it is, I highly recommend it. Okay, now let's talk about the top 2 products from this month of August. Product number 2 is this beautiful palette right here. This is the Wild Jaguar palette by Miss Huda Beauty, and I had a ton of fun playing with this palette this month. This was not only my favorite palette from the trio that I bought, but also your guys' favorite palette as well. I got a ton of comments on this one, and I created a video where I did 3 different looks with it besides the review video on it, and I had a ton of fun playing with the different shades to create different levels of depth, using different shimmers on the eyelid. I'm obsessed with this purpley shade right here. It is so beautiful, and it adds kind of like an extra pop of color to this very cool tone, more serious type of a palette. Also love the green that she added to it. I think this is another color that contributes to the palette being a little bit more versatile. This palette is, I believe, around the $30 mark and extremely travel friendly. Her Obsessions palettes come really nicely packaged. So if you ever need to take it with you traveling, this is a palette that's going to fit everywhere. Something else I loved about it was that it brought a little bit of a different vibe to the Huda Beauty palette collections in general, because I don't think she ever has come out with a color story quite like this one. This one, I think it's pretty different from any of the rest of the palettes that I've tried from her, and I have been more into cool tone shades as of lately, so I really loved it. Plus, like I said, for the other 2 Huda palettes that I mentioned, this Huda formula is amazing, so highly recommended if you've been thinking about it. I'm pretty sure if you've been watching my videos for the month of August, you can guess what my number 1 pick is, and you're right. It is Mothership number 9, Utopian Dream, right over here. I had a ton of fun creating my 5 looks 1 palette with this palette. If you haven't yet, definitely check out that video. I will start by telling you guys a little bit of a disappointment that I had with this palette, which obviously with this palette still being my number 1 pick for the month, you can see it's not that much of a disappointment. But I feel like just because I'm used to the rest of the Mothership palettes, I always expect a really deep matte color in her palettes. Like in some of her palettes, she has the extreme black shade that you can darken up any look with. In other palettes, she just has like a really dark brown or burgundy shade. This one, the darkest color is this one right here, and it's not too dark, so most of the looks that you create using this palette and this palette alone are not as smoky as I'm used to Pat McGrath palettes giving me. However, she does have one of those dark colors in every single other one of her palettes, so it's not like I personally need one. It's just an observation. As far as the color story in this palette, I absolutely loved it. I loved that even the non-special shimmers that she came out with in this palette, I think are pretty special. Like this shade right over here has so much shine. It has shimmer and a little bit of like an added glitter to it as well, which makes it more special than her regular shimmers are. So I love that she incorporated those into this palette. I love that she gave us a transition shade. I'm actually wearing that one on my eye look today. This light rose tone right over here, fell in love with it. And then of course my top 2 shades are these shades up here. I'm wearing that lighter one on the inner corner of my eye today. I think that both of these Astro Glitz shades are spectacular. Very glittery, shimmery, attention grabbing types of shades. I'm not sure how true what I'm about to say is, but I feel like these 2 have to be a different formula from her other glitter Astro Blitz shades, because I don't feel like any of my other palettes have a shimmer as intense and potent as this one right here, specifically from Ms. Pat McGrath. This is definitely not only my number 1 favorite for this month of August, but it's one of my top palettes of all time, one of my top palettes in my collection, so obviously I cannot recommend it enough. A lot of you guys commented you've never had a Pat McGrath palette before, and this is the one that you're starting with, and trust me, it is an amazing palette to start your Pat McGrath collection with, and you will not regret it. That of course brings us to the end of this video. If you're interested in any of the products that I just mentioned, please get them using my links down below. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I hope to see you back in my next video. Bye!